mid-March, when things were beginning to kind of unravel, um, Ingrid and I and our kids were lucky to be able to kind of decamp to my mother-in-law's house, which is about an hour outside of the city. And as I said, we anticipated that we would be there for 2 or 3 weeks while we kind of let the whole thing blow over. We thought we'd kind of put our heads down and escape, but obviously that didn't happen. And so we ended up actually living in my mother-in-law's house with her and my extended family. We had a group of 10, and it ended up being that way for 6 months or so. How were we going to proceed with work? And how was I going to proceed with trying to maintain a studio practice? Well, when I finally did, in probably late May, realized that this is not going to go away anytime soon, and we really do need to kind of hunker down and make some choices about how we're going to proceed. But I realized that there was this abandoned horse barn that is close to my mother-in-law's house, and which I had access to. But the interior was really rough, full of mold and dust and all sorts of things. It hadn't been touched in a long, long time, but I did have access to it. And so I realized, okay, that can be a studio space. So I thought, all right, this is going to be my project for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to get this place ready to work in. Fixing up the barn became my project. It was great, and set myself up to get some work done. And I did get some work done, although it was difficult to try to figure out kind of what to do, because it just felt disjointed. And moving to a new studio can be exciting, and is exciting, but also can be, it can kind of stymie you, or me. It can stymie me a little bit, because I always go through a period of time where I'm kind of like wondering what to do. It seems like a place where it's sort of a natural to make a break with whatever was going on in the studio before. And in some ways, you're sort of starting from scratch or beginning anew. It was a welcome change, but it didn't make it any easier. But what was happening simultaneous to all of that, my late father-in-law had been a fly fisherman, and there was a bunch of gear sitting around in his basement. And I used to love fly fishing. It was something I did as a kid. Much of my artwork is based upon my experiences outdoors in wilderness settings, and getting myself just away from urban life. I spent years living in the wilderness in Yosemite. So those things are very close to my heart and really important for my practice. One trip in particular was a trip that I took with my dad to the Sierra Nevada. I was probably in second grade. We took a backpacking trip, which was backpacking and fly fishing. I loved fishing already, but I had never been fly fishing. And that kindled in me something that I was really passionate about, but which kind of dwindled out in my teen years. But I realized when I saw my father-in-law's kind of old stuff, that it would be a perfect opportunity. I knew that I could use this fly fishing gear, and there were streams close by that I could actually. There was one stream I could walk to, mm-hmm. and explored the area, and ended up. I think I fly fished in the morning every day for 6 weeks without missing a day, and as often will happen for me, an activity that I'm taking part in that seems completely separate from my artistic practice, from my studio practice, quickly became kind of rolled into what I was doing in the studio. And so I would find a place to access the stream, and then I would get in there, and I'd begin wading up the stream looking for fish, but also looking around. And very often I would find myself in situations that were kind of strange, because almost never was I more than a half a mile from a major road. But because of the overhanging trees and the density of the underbrush surrounding these streams and creeks, it felt as if I was in the middle of nowhere. I would spend hours going upstream, and eventually I would get a glimpse of the dam. And it was terrific to find myself at about, having been walking for a couple of hours from sunrise till whatever 8:30 a.m. or something, and I'd find myself getting a glimpse of a massive piece of societal infrastructure. It felt to me as if I was seeing something alien. My perception was that there was this massive piece of technology that was peeking through the trees at me. And it didn't feel human. It felt the way I imagine it would have felt to Montezuma, to see European explorers arriving in their ships, where these pieces of technology, but sort of mysterious presences, mysterious pieces of technology were arriving. There were things that were unknown um, that provided a little bit of magic. And that experience is what led me to realize that my little fishing adventures were actually much more than just these ways to be socially distant and explore sort of nature, but they were actually kind of encapsulations of what I feel my painting process is, which is long periods of kind of becoming lost and feeling as if you're exploring unknown territory that are then punctuated at the end by a kind of a grand vision when everything kind of comes together and makes sense and feels right, even though it's still kind of mysterious. Like, I don't feel that there's any formula or direct, clear answer to what makes a painting feel right to me. But it is a feeling that I can recognize when I feel it. And that's what coming upon these dams kind of felt like. It felt like it encapsulated or created a bookend to an experience that was unknown, mysterious, and magical, but at the same time contained this combination that I find so important to me, which is the combination of nature and wilderness coming together with societal infrastructure, with the built environment. So the human and nature coming together, and seeing these dams through the trees was the perfect example of that. So that is all a very long-winded way of giving you the background to what I'm now calling my Tailwaters project, which is a series of images, both drawings, paintings on paper, and larger works on canvas that are all kind of founded upon my experience exploring these tailwaters of New York State. It's an ongoing project because there's a lot more territory than I've been able to explore yet, and but because it's so perfect, it just really provides the perfect combination of society and nature for me. That's within striking distance of home. It's been really exciting for me kind of to realize that this can be a project. The Tailwaters project is really interesting to me because of that perfect combination. It's one of the only times that I've kind of had a realization that this is the perfect combination for me. And I know that these adventures on the tailwaters will result in a series of images that will be very important to me. It will be special for me. Having that realization occur during COVID, when I had thought that I might not be productive at all, was fantastic, because it really provided me something to focus on. And I could do my tailwater trips in the morning, come back at before lunch, and then have all afternoon I took a lot of photographs while I was out on the streams. And so I'd have all afternoon to kind of sort through some photographic reference material, some documentation of the trips, and then I would kind of distill what I found in the photographs, um, distill in my head what I found in the photographs, and make drawings for a couple of hours. And then when I felt ready, when I felt like I had kind of gathered enough visual information that I was holding in my head, I would begin doing works on paper that would then subsequently inform larger, I guess, more ambitious works on canvas.
It was really a valuable interview. I really thank you so very much.